Hello YouTube, Jojo here, and welcome to an in-depth guide on close quarters infiltration. In the background, you will see some footage of me playing with the Cyclone SMG available to the new conglomerate, as I've been having a lot of fun with it recently. In this guide, I'm going to be talking about two main infiltrator playstyles. These are the CPC, or capitalizing on chaos playstyle, and the POS, or picking off stragglers playstyle. As far as the structure of this guide goes, first of all, I'm going to be going over things that are similar between both playstyles. Then, I'm going to be going over specifics for both CPC and POS gameplay. One thing that you will need for both CPC and POS gameplay is a correct loadout. Now, I already have a video on how to build your infiltrator loadouts, which you will see a link to now. However, if you don't want to watch that, the too long didn't watch is essentially use an SMG and the Hunter Cloak. On the back of that tip about SMGs, you must teach yourself to hip fire and only hip fire, as in close quarters it will be much more beneficial to you than ADSing, as you'll be able to move more as well as have more situational awareness. One thing that you can do to greatly improve your effectiveness as a close quarters infiltrator is learn how to manipulate your deep cloak. Now, for those of you that don't know, deep cloak is where you crouch while cloaking, and it may take a second or two to transition. However, it will transition into a state where you are 95% invisible and enemies will most of the time run straight past you. This can be incredibly useful, as you can use it to get away from an enemy who's chasing you and flip the tables on them and shoot them in the back rather than having them chase you down. You'll see me do it a lot in this footage, and I recommend you guys do it too. My final tip that crosses over between both playstyles is how to engage your enemies. Now, as you're an infiltrator, you should be able to choose your engagements. Now, you don't want to be attacking too many people at once, as you've got lower health than everyone, and your SMG will probably not be able to take too many. You also don't want to be engaging targets that you cannot kill, so a heavy assault in a frontal firefight, especially at ranges that aren't extremely close quarters, is probably not a good idea. You're going to want to go for guys who either haven't seen you, are on low health, or who have horrific aim. Okay, so now I'm going to move on to more specific strategies for POS or pick off stragglers gameplay. In general, POS gameplay will be quite a lot easier than CPC gameplay, as you're taking out enemies who don't expect a fight, and it works best in smaller fights. Larger fights tend to be hard, as finding a single enemy can be very difficult. On your screen, you're now going to be seeing an extract from a typical fight in Planetside 2. Here the spawn room is highlighted in green and the teleporter exit is highlighted in yellow. As in many fights in Planetside 2, there is a main area of contact between friendlies and enemies around the point, which I've highlighted in red. For POS gameplay, you're going to want to be completely avoiding this area. So what you're going to want to do for fights like this, especially where there's a large fight around the spawn room, is taking the teleporter to the teleporter exit, a path which I've highlighted in blue, and then exiting teleporter exit and going to the black area that I've highlighted. Now, this area is away from the fight, however enemies may still be here as they're trying to flank around and find an area where they aren't expected, and they won't be expecting an assault in that area. You may also find their Sunday, where they'll also not be expecting an attack, as the fight will be further away from them. So you want to be conducting your gameplay in this area. Moving on to CPC gameplay. Now, CPC gameplay is best done in larger fights, as the name suggests, you're capitalizing on chaos, which means that if it's in a smaller fight, you won't be able to take advantage of your enemy's confusion in the heat of battle as much. So as you can see, I've now put up the same example fight as before, and once again there is a main area of contact highlighted in red. The only difference is this is where you want to be going. You want to be in the thick of the battle. Now, there's a multitude of ways you could get here. You could take a similar route to what you would do in POS gameplay and go round the back and into the back of the point room where you could start your fight. You could also use the jump pad to get over the wall and go round from there, or if you're fairly good with your directional influence, you could use the jump pad to get on top of the wall, run along it, jump onto the roof of the building, and then from the roof of the building go back behind your enemies and hit them in the back. So now that you've reached your fight, you need to know what to do to maximize your killing potential while you're there. One of the major things you must do is go for enemies who are busy with something else. If you go for an enemy who's moving away from the fight, or going back for ammo or something like that, they're going to be ready for an attack. They won't be distracted by shooting at someone else, and there's a much higher chance they're going to shoot you back and potentially kill you. However, if you go for an enemy who's sitting behind cover, reloading, or who's trying to get a nice shot off on people in other places, they won't be expecting you, and 9 times out of 10 you'll be able to kill them before they even realize you're shooting at them. Another little hint that's kind of 2 hints is to always cloak while you're reloading. Now, some people might dispute this, but it's something that I personally do, as although while sprinting cloaked you're far from invisible, it's a whole lot better than being straight out in front of your enemies. Also, do not worry about your cloaking noise. Your enemies will hear it, however, most of the time they're going to be too busy with something else to be too worried, and if they are, well, they're already dead. As I'm sure you guys may have guessed, CPC gameplay is all about evading detection by your enemies for as long as possible while wreaking havoc on their battle line. So it's vitally important that any target you engage, you must be able to realistically kill and do your best to kill, as the moment you start shooting at a guy and say you have to retreat and they're not dead, that's one more person on the field who knows that you are there and who will probably be actively looking for you. As an infiltrator, head-on collisions are not your thing. You're going to want to do your utmost to not get caught. My last 2 tips for CPC gameplay are about movement. You're going to want to keep mobile, keep moving. Never stay in one place for too long, as if your enemies can pin you down, you're going to die in seconds. There's no question about it. The second one is, if you're in a situation where you're shooting at an enemy and they're shooting back at you, you may want to spam crouch, as if they're aiming for headshots, you ducking down is going to completely throw off their aim, and especially if they're using a lower rate of fire weapon, cause you to win that firefight. However, use it with care, as if your enemy's aiming at your chest and stomach, you crouching is just going to give them easy headshots and lower their time to kill on you. Thank you for watching, guys. If you found this video helpful or informative, please feel free to give it a like. Also, if you have your own personal thoughts on close quarters infiltration, please leave a comment detailing so. I love to know what you guys think. If you haven't done so already, and would like to help support the channel and see more content as I get it out, subscribe. And finally, be sure to check me out on Facebook, Twitter and Steam to get updates for what's happening right now.